Welcome back to CIA Declassified. In 1959, the Soviet Union was feeling pretty smug. They had the first satellite, the first dog in space, and they were touring the world with a display model of their Lunik satellite, the first man-made object to reach the vicinity of the moon. They claimed the one on tour was just a hollow replica. The CIA, however, had a hunch that Moscow was too lazy to build a fake. They suspected a fully functional space probe was sitting in the back of a transport truck traveling from city to city with only a single driver for protection. This is Operation QKFLOWER. It's the story of how the agency stole the moon, or at least the machine meant to reach it, for exactly 7 hours. To pull this off, the agency didn't use an army. They used a detour and a very long night. During the tour's stop in a neutral country, CIA operatives intercepted the truck carrying the Luniks between the exhibition hall and the train station. They diverted the driver to a hotel and took the truck to a secret black site garage. A quote from a declassified CIA internal historical review. The operation required the complete disassembly of the upper stage of the Lunik's vehicle. Our technicians had to remove over 100 bolts to access the payload compartment, all while wearing surgical gloves to avoid leaving fingerprints on the Soviet hardware. End quote. The agency's technicians discovered that the probe was not a replica. It was a production model, with its engine and electronics intact. They spent the night photographing every circuit and measuring the fuel tank's capacity. The team encountered a major problem. The crate was sealed with specialized Soviet wire seals. To hide the theft, they had to forge identical seals on the spot using lead and a hand-carved stamp. A quote from the OTS technical memo. The markings on the internal components indicated a level of manufacturing precision far exceeding previous intelligence estimates. The Lunix was a master class in weight-saving engineering, end quote. The CIA team finished the reassembly at 5 a.m. They drove the truck back to the station just as the original Soviet driver was waking up from his likely agency-assisted deep sleep. The Soviets never realized the probe had been tampered with. The truck was loaded onto a train and headed to the next city, its secrets already on a flight to Langley. From the photographs, the CIA figured out the specific impulse of the Soviet rocket fuel, which allowed the U.S. to calculate exactly how much weight the Soviets could lift into orbit. The agency discovered that the Luniks used a unique tri-axle stabilization system, a breakthrough that U.S. scientists were still struggling to perfect. Operation QKFLOWER was so secret that even the NASA administrators weren't told how the intelligence was gathered for months. The technicians used high-speed 35mm cameras with specialized macro lenses to capture the serial numbers of individual transistors. The total cost of the heist was less than $5,000, while the intelligence gained was estimated to be worth hundreds of millions in R&D savings. One of the lead CIA burglars was a former watchmaker who was recruited specifically for his ability to handle tiny, delicate screws without stripping the heads. The Soviet guards at the train station were actually helped by the CIA truck drivers to load the crate, ensuring the Soviets didn't look too closely at the freshly forged seals. The heist provided the first evidence that the Soviets were using grid-finned stabilizers, a technology the U.S. would later adopt for its own missiles. The declassified report on the mission was titled The Lunik's Loan, a cheeky nod to the fact that they gave it back. The technical analysis revealed the probe's antenna system was actually tuned to a frequency the U.S. hadn't been monitoring, explaining why we missed earlier Soviet deep space signals. The CIA's team found that the Lunik's internal temperature control was maintained by a surprisingly simple series of mechanical shutters rather than complex electronics. The bolts removed during the heist were made of a titanium alloy that was much lighter than anything the U.S. was currently using in its own Vanguard rocket program. A quote from a declassified OTS director memo. The success of QKFLOWER confirms that our technical collection capabilities are the most efficient tool in the current intelligence gap. End quote. The entire disassembly was performed in a garage that had been rented by a CIA front company just 48 hours prior to the truck's arrival. While the Lunix loan sounds like a fun caper, the files for QK contain sections that are completely blacked out. The heaviest redactions occur in the internal biological residue section. There is a wild theory that the CIA found evidence of organic material inside the probe that wasn't human or canine. Speculation suggests the black bars hide the discovery of a non-terrestrial substance found on the Lunix heat shield, and the agency is still hiding the first contact. Some researchers believe the black bars in the disassembly logs hide the missing component. The theory is that the CIA didn't just photograph the probe, they stole a piece of it and replaced it with a flawless American-made tracking bug, and the redactions covered the live feed they got from the Soviet space program for the next 3 years. There's a persistent story that the redactions hide the midnight pilot. Speculation holds that when the CIA opened the Lunix, they found a seat designed for a very small human, suggesting the Soviets were secretly sending people on suicide missions to the moon before 1960. The black bars, according to this theory, hide the human remains protocols. Could the probe have been sent back from the future? One bizarre theory suggests the black bars hide temporal anomaly reports. Speculation is that the serial numbers on the parts didn't match any known Soviet factory, and the agency was blacking out evidence of time slip technology. Some theorists believe the redactions hide the lunar map section. The theory is that the Lunix had already taken secret photos of structures on the dark side of the moon, and the black bars hide the CIA's copy of those alien photos. A rumor floating around retired tech spies suggests the black bars hide the gravity engine. The speculation is that the Lunix wasn't using standard compulsion, and the CIA found a device that warped local space-time, which they promptly blacked out to prevent a global panic about alien physics. Some believe the redactions hide the double cross. The theory is that the Soviet driver knew the CIA was taking the truck and was paid in gold, and the black bars hide the transaction receipts that would prove the Soviets were selling their own moon secrets. Whispers claim the black bars in the post-mission analysis hide the fact that the probe started talking on its own while in the garage. The speculation is the CIA discovered a Soviet AI that was already active, and the redactions cover the conversation transcripts. A wilder theory suggests the redactions hide the moon plague. Speculation holds that the CIA team got sick after touching the probe, and the black bars hide the quarantine orders for a secret base in Nevada. Some speculate the redactions hide the Star Child protocol. The theory is that the Lunix was actually carrying a biological specimen intended for moon colonization, and the black bars hide the fact that the CIA adopted it. Was Operation QKFLOWER a success? Absolutely. It was a grand slam. It provided the single most important piece of intelligence of the early space race. By knowing exactly what the Soviets were capable of, the U.S. could stop guessing and start building. It proved that sometimes the best way to win a high-tech race is with a low-tech wrench and a dark garage. The Midnight Moon Heist changed the way we look at the stars. The operational and technological breakthroughs, some of them, there's many, are non-destructive entry. The OTS perfected the art of invisible tampering, developing tools to bypass security seals without a trace. Rapid intelligence reverse engineering. The CIA established a new protocol for how to strip and document foreign hardware under extreme time pressure. Rocket fuel analysis. The data from the Lunix tanks led to a revolution in U.S. chemical propellant research. Clandestine logistics. The success of the truck diversion became the standard for agency snatch and grab missions globally. Operation QKFLOWER shows that even in the space age, the oldest tricks in the book, theft, forgery, and a well-timed nap, are still the most effective. Thanks for listening. Join us next time. We head to the humid jungles of the Caribbean and we examine Operation Mongoose and the infamous exploding cigar files. How many ways can you try to kill a dictator? From lethal agents hidden in tobacco to the plot to dust his shoes with thallium powder to make his iconic beard fall out, we uncover some of the specific technical attempts to remove Fidel Castro. Again, there are other episodes I've covered on this. It's the story of when the agency's technical services went from spycraft to cartoonishly dark reality. Join us for the Castro conundrum next time. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.